What's up guys, it's your boy Goblins, and today we're talking about pyromancy casting in PvE. It is one of my top requested things to talk about, and that is casting throughout the entirety of the game from like step 1 to the end of the game. And it's not easy. You're going to hate yourself. And as a quick heads up, I am going to be delivering more type videos and doing my casters and whatnot, but I actually think I'm going to wait till the DLC comes out to see if anything cool comes with the DLC. Because someone made a really good point in the comments that I should maybe wait just to see what happens. So I think I might do that. But I'm going to still be talking about Dark Souls stuff and doing my reviews. So that's what's up. So, being a pyromancer and just regular old general game progression. For starters, you're going to want to begin the game as a pyromancer or deprived. If you choose the pyromancer base class, you get bonus stats for easier late game point distribution, and if you choose the deprived starting class, it's simple to balance and you can easily rebirth for anything else on one single character. So for my last guides, I started the game as a pyromancer, and I did actually notice that the late game is a lot easier for points distribution if you choose a pyromancer to be a pyromancer later on. Similar to how if you pick the sorcerer to start or like a cleric to start, you get the bonus points for late game, and you get the idea. But choosing deprived is just like a nice clean slate. Level 1, you just get those base stats, and like that's what's up. Starting the game as deprived though is not a fun task. It sucks. So if you're like new to Dark Souls and you're like new to casting, like, just go with the pyromancer. But if you want a challenge or you're just a comfortable veteran player, start as deprived. It's simple. It's a great way to play. So now that you guys have chosen your starter class, I can assume that you've beaten the first boss. The next step is to get your pyromancer flame. If you're starting as deprived, you won't have your flame quite yet, and you're gonna want a free cornix, which we'll get into in a second. But if you start as the pyromancer, you will begin with your pyromancy flame. But you're still gonna want a free cornix because he's gonna sell you new pyromancies and all that good stuff. So as of right now, I recommend that you just start the game with like a basic weapon with your pyromancy flame or without your pyromancy flame. I personally use the broadsword or the hand axe depending. I will say I don't recommend upgrading the items because you'll want to save all those upgrade materials for your pyromancer flames to begin with, but upgrade them if you want to feel more comfortable with fighting stuff early game. Personally, I made it all the way to the old Wolves of Farron without upgrading that broadsword like whatsoever, so it's possible. It just kind of sucks. As goes for casting in the beginning of the game. So you'll most likely kill Vort, complete the High Wall of Lothric and all that good stuff with a normal weapon instead of a pyromancer flame. And of course for early game I do recommend summoning people in because it'll make it a little bit easier. It does make enemies harder and also makes bosses harder, but it's fun all around. And also thankfully phantoms are awesome because a lot of the times nice phantoms will take aggro off of you, which means you can progress faster. If you are new to Dark Souls, I highly recommend you look into what it takes to summon someone in to help you in the game. It is super helpful and it's a lot of fun. And Cornix is located in the undead settlement. In order to get to him, you have to drop down to this weird little bonfire, roll around, come up to this cage, and he should be located right in here. Talk to him, tell him you want his help, and he'll appear in Firelink Shrine right near Andre the Blacksmith. And if you're playing as deprived, you're gonna get your first pyromancy flame right there and then, which is great. You can also kill him for a pyromancy flame, but I don't recommend killing him. Don't kill Cornix, please! Because he's gonna learn you some pyromancies, and you gotta get those. You know, that's a very crucial point in casting pyromancies. So if you kill him, well, fuck. So, like, don't. And now that you have this pyromancy flame and maybe a couple upgrade materials, you can upgrade your pyromancy flame. And be sure to buy up his pyromancies because you want variety in your casting, even when you're just progressing through the game. It just makes things nice. So, you've got your pyromancy flame, which is your main weapon. You've upgraded it. You bought some spells. Now you guys are like, what about the levels? Leveling is a little bit of an interesting concept because it's kind of like to each their own. So here's kind of my recommendations for setting up levels as you progress through the game and make your way to meta 120. I recommend trying to build vitality and endurance, especially in the early game when you are still using a regular weapon, because you don't want to die all the time. Like, you can learn to dodge things and you're going to learn how to dodge basically everything, but both vitality and endurance are crucial in keeping you alive. After building up some vitality and endurance, I recommend upgrading your intelligence first by 5 to 10 points, then start upgrading your faith 5 to 10 points. And the reason I say this is because you're gonna get more value out of intelligence in the early game if you happen to switch up to casting, if you want to cast Hush, if you want to cast basically anything to hide you from the game in the early game to run through stuff, intelligence is going to help you first. Faith and miracles are more like a late game kind of build, I find. You don't really get the good stuff until like mid to late game, so. And then the other level you have to consider is your attunement. So you're going to want to level up attunement as you want more slots FP is restorable at any point in time via Ashen Estus, but having more FP of course is nice. Now that being said, I always consider FP more of an afterthought because I can restore it all the time, and Attunement as the forethought because I want to cast more spells and use more stuff. But that's just me. You can, like I said, it is based like however you want to do it. You can set it up as you guys go. If you guys are like, fucking, I want damage output now, you can do Intelligence and Faith from the beginning. You don't have to level Vitality and Endurance. I quite frankly never level Vitality because I'm an asshole and people get mad at me. So yeah, like I don't know what it is. People see my Vitality and they're like, now if you're going pure Pyromancy, you're gonna want to get a second Pyromancy Flame. Another very frequently asked question that I always get. One way to do this is that you can trade with people. You can enter New Game Plus, or if you have access to the DLC, you can get the Pyromancer's Parting Flame. Highly recommended. Oh my god. Also buy the DLC for the sake of buying the DLC, because it gets you extra gear, and you get the arena. And it has, like, it's good stuff. There's 2 bosses, which sucks ass. I did a review of it. I'm gonna refer you to the review. But it's got some pretty good gear. You might want to get it, you know, so... Yay. Now, having 2 Pyromancer Flames has its benefits, but it's more so in PvP than it is PvE. This is going to be the one occurrence where I tell you guys you don't really need to use the second Pyromancer Flame, just because you're going to be focused on not dying against the game, basically. But once again, if you just learn how to dodge everything, you don't even... Woo! You're good. You're set. So if you guys don't want to rep a second Pyromancer Flame, here's a couple shields I recommend from the early game. Dragon Crest Shield! I recommend the Dragon Crest Shield because it has a lot of damage absorption, isn't too heavy, and it's like a mid-weight shield, so it's nothing too crazy. You can get this shield above the Old Wolf of Fair and Bonfire, opposite of the Stray Demon. Another one I recommend is the Grass Crest Shield, because it's okay for stamina regen. There's some defense, not a whole lot, but the stamina regen can be helpful, especially if you're not putting points into endurance to start off the game. And you can find this in Crucifixion Woods. My personal favorite shield, and what I claim is the best shield for casting pyromancies in one hand and having something else in the other hand, is the Dark Hand! You can purchase this shield through Yuria of Londor for 12,000 souls, and she appears in Firelink Shrine after you pull out your strength 5 times from Yol of Londor, who you get just before you enter the Undead Settlement. He's here, he's disguised, he looks like one of these guys, and none of them do anything except for him. So, now the reason I like the Dark Hand so much is because it's got a pretty cool weapon art, which you're going to have in the left hand because you're going to use it as a shield. If you choose to use it as a weapon instead, it scales with Intelligence and Faith, and it has a lot of damage absorption for literally just like a fucking aura around your fist. It also doesn't weigh anything, so if you want to focus on keeping your character lightweight, which you probably will as a caster, it's perfect. It's so good. And it looks awesome. It looks so good with a Pyromancer Flame. And with all of that accomplished, you can probably make your way to mid-game. You're going to die a lot. You're going to want to summon people in a lot just to guide you through areas. Even if you play the game 1,000 times over, it's just pleasant knowing that someone else is there to pick up aggro and stupid shit's not going to kill you while you're trying to get stuff. So I'm just saying. I'm also going to mention the obvious: pick up Estus shards, get undead bone shards, check out guides for that stuff. I'll also post a link to all the pyromancy tomes in the description as well, because I'm not going to go through that because that's a lot to go through, and there's, you know, thousands of people that have told you where to get them, and I'm not going to be another one of those people. So yay! So after you've done most of that, you're going to want to rush to the Smouldering Lake. The reason you're going to want to get to Smouldering Lake as fast as possible, as soon as possible, is because that's where you get Chaos Bed Vestiges and Great Chaos Fire Orb. Now, I mentioned it in my player versus player guide. Those 2 fireballs are going to be your main damage dealer. You can pick either or, honestly. Great Chaos Fire Orb gives you lava on the ground and still deals a lot of damage. Chaos Bed Vestiges is a big fireball, and it shoots super fast. That's my personal favorite. It's a little hefty on the FP, but it's definitely worth it. That one you get from killing off the old Demon King and then transposing his soul. So that's your objective. That is, make that your objective as a Pyromancer, to get there immediately as you start the game. That is where you're gonna go. As I mentioned before, you're gonna get used to dodging really quick, and if you haven't gotten used to dodging ever in a Dark Souls game, you're gonna have to do that. And you're gonna die a lot, and that's okay. I understand that rewiring your ability to think about Dark Souls and how you play it as a person can be a little difficult. Not blocking anything, running into shit, dodging everything, summoning people in all the time. That's kind of how you gotta play as a caster for like the first bit of the game, so you don't die. You're gonna also want to use more Ashen Estus than you will regular Estus. So whether or not you have high FP, you're gonna need a lot of FP. You're gonna want to take those FP pots as far as you can. In order to fully progress through an area, you're going to use a lot of FP up. So having Ashen Estus is very important. Personally, me, I have 10 Ashen Estus and 5 regular Estus because I just dodge everything. I don't get hit by stuff, because if I get hit by anything, I probably am going to die within a couple hits. So let's just crank out the damage. Let's just go. You know, that's what I'm talking about. And as I mentioned in all my other guides, be sure to use your weapon skills. So when you're using 2 Pyromancy Flames, you can punch with the heavy attack from the right hand if you're out of FP, and you can use Combustion for low FP cost on the left hand. I do recommend using Parting Flame if you have access to the DLC to restore Estus per every 12 mob kills. So every time you kill 12 dudes in PvE, you can cast the weapon skill as long as you have the flame equipped, and it's gonna recharge one of your Estus flasks, which is also great for not having any Estus except for Ashen Estus. You see what I'm getting at? That's what's up. As I mentioned before as well, casting only really picks up like midway through the game. It's not the funnest time starting as a caster. Most people will run through the game with a quality build, then rebirth to try something new later on, and that's where people begin to start exploring other options and builds and all that stuff in Dark Souls. This is also the reason the majority of Souls players see casting as inviable, is because most of them have a bad experience trying to understand the casting mechanics and will usually go with the traditional melee build or a hybrid after that. So don't get turned off by casting. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna die a lot. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of like rewiring from like a melee build or like a traditional quality build. And that is a nice briefing of how you play a Pyromancer in PvE. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comments and I'll try and specify any of your questions that you guys have. I didn't want to make this video too long. It's already quite long now. I just wanted to cover the basics for actually casting pyromancies in player versus enemy. When you're playing against the game, it's not always the same mentality as playing against other players. So this is what this is all about. So that's everything I have to talk about for today, guys. As I always say, drop a like for your boy Goblins. And I'll be back here with more Dark Souls content, or a review, or Neo content, whatever I'm feeling, whatever happens, and whatever I have the time to do. So take it easy, guys. Have a general good, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!